Today I'm showing you how to play as Dell. This video right now is just on beginner, and at the moment, this is a public lobby, but I need it to be host, so I could be the engineer, and I could control if another engineer comes in or not. But I'm gonna start this video off with Fabricator Location. Fabricator Location and player position will determine where enemies spawn. This basically means that if I place this right here, enemies are not going to spawn there. Enemies are not going to spawn in the closest part over here. It's debatable right here if they'll spawn in the back section over there. Fabricators can also be used to block choke points. So very narrow passages like this, Dell can place the fabricator and block this off. There's also a little trick. So Dell is the only one that can do this, but if the fabricator is in red and it's up close to a wall like this, I can actually spam the repair tool. And as you see, it will go back. It's kind of weird how it works. So how you actually want to do this trick is just slowly tap your repair tool and wait until it lights up. I could actually go and put this fabricator really close in a position that normally nobody else could place. This might be too close. It is, but you can get it closer than every other player. There we go. So I'm gonna drop this now. I actually put it so close that, okay, you can still walk in the room. But yeah, it's a little bit easier to tap your repair tool than keep going back and forth unless you're really skilled at placing it like that. So that is a good way to get it close and block off a choke point if you want. So on to what you should buy first. And that is what the team wants. Granted, my team has no thoughts right now because they are AI. But generally, rule of thumb is lockers or barriers. It is definitely not sentries. Nobody likes the engineer that the first thing that they buy, whether it be Horde or it be Horde Frenzy, is a sentry. Now, you can see how your team is doing, and if they're holding their own and they want lockers, then definitely get the lockers. And if you are as a joining in as a random in a game and nobody has mics, you might want to see how your team holds up for the first wave or two, or buy a level 1 locker, and then if your team is going down, then you can go and buy barriers. And if they're not going down and they're like killing themselves to get a weapon on the locker, then go and upgrade that locker and at least get one locker up before you go and you deal with the barriers. There is also, with building the lockers, it is much better to build one level 3 or one level 4 locker as you're building your first locker up versus building 4 level 1 lockers. A level 4 locker will have much faster regen than a 1. 3 has faster than 2, 2 has faster than 1, 4 has faster than 3. Get it? So if you had a level 3 locker or a level 4 locker, multiple players can put weapons on the locker and they'll get much faster regen versus them all having their own level 1 locker. So since I have no players in this game at the moment, I'm going to move on to barrier position. So you want to look at where enemies are spawning, where your players are posted up, and what choke points they're trying to defend. So right now, I got 3 players over here. They're not going down. So I'm going to actually put this on the back side and slow up the back side a little bit. But here's another example. Let me get another barrier real quick. So enemies like will not spawn in this back room because I have a fabricator right here. But say they were spawning in here and now they can jump out this window. Used to be able to get it on the stairs right here. I guess from the old blood drive they fixed it so you can't do that one. But let me put this here to stop this advance. And then I'll get into one of the tricks you can use. So if you did have a position like this where you could mantle, that means juvies can mantle it. So what you might want to do is put the barrier behind it. You also need to keep in mind while doing strategies like that you do also need to block off the choke point, or you're going to have to use multiple barriers. Like this one really here isn't practical. There's not really a practical situation in Blood Drive where they're going to mantle and get over. But do keep in mind that if you have a situation where enemies can mantle it, level 3 barrier behind will stop them completely from mantling it. So when should Dell use his ultimate? Now, when players go down is an excellent time to use your ultimate. If you're playing with executions on, I had that enemy right there. That would be a nice time to use it. His ultimate is pretty crap unless you're playing on a low level difficulty. Everybody hates Dell's ultimate. But taking out a couple of downed enemies at barriers, or having them search out enemies that you know are down or very weak, is one way to use it. Another way to use it is when you're going to go get that revive. You can either use the ultimate first and hope that it goes in the direction of the down player, or you can get the revive and then use your ultimate to do some damage and inflict stun while you two try to make it to safety. I'm going to get into what enemies should be prioritized real quick. Dell is not offensive. I mean, right now this game is just on beginner, so like everybody's running around. But I mean, I could go and I could fight since nobody's really hunkered down anyway. But on any mid-level, high-level difficulty, Dell will not really be a fighter. In late game, or you might have one spot on somebody's locker with a tri-shot or something that you want, and you might have a drop shot on you or whatever you want, just for when you get a little bit overrun or you get something there. But for the most part, Dell's just going to help out and take down a Sentinel, a Guardian, or a Warden coming up. He's more assist. Put it this way, Dell should not be fighting if the fortifications potentially could break that wave, or the next wave if he should be repairing versus shooting. The only time that you should really be breaking that rule is like a Warden coming up to a barrier, or a Sentinel or Guardian flying overhead, and everybody is currently up, and you don't need to potentially go for the revive. Then, no, I don't want that there. Actually, that actually is fine, because I already did the video for the other point. Another thing is, don't move what the engineer moves. Generally, that creates toxicity. I don't know. Anyway, a toxic environment, and most engineers are not going to like if you move. I've actually left plenty of games because people remove fortifications, like, or buy things. If I play the engineer, I play the engineer. Right now, this is another reason I'm doing this on easy level, the easiest beginner. I mean, really, I don't do videos, even tutorials on this because it's boring. Way too easy. It kind of defeats the purpose when everybody's fighting on the other side of the map, but there's fortification glitches that you could do right now, and I don't want this video to include them because if they are going to be patched in the very near future. So I'm not going to be including something and giving you strategies for something that's going to be patched in the very near future. I'll just put this completely out the way for the moment so it doesn't get destroyed. So, ammo concerns as Dell. Dell should not be getting the ammo boxes. If nobody else is getting the ammo boxes, then that's fine. If nobody gets one wave, you can pick it up. You should be relying on your team to kill, not you. Other people are going to have offensive perks. Dell really only has the custom robotics, so he's really not an offensive player, and that ammo will be better off in somebody else's hands. I mean, it should be better off in another player's hands, assuming they land the same shots. Anyway, but yeah, he shouldn't be one getting ammo boxes. You shouldn't be taking up the first slots on weapon lockers. You can put something there temporarily if nobody's using it. Like right now, it'd be perfectly cool to put that on there, but you shouldn't be occupying the first weapon locker. Best weapons for Dell are whatever weapons you want, really. I mean, if you have custom robotics on, obviously it's the tri-shot and the custom robotics cards. Well, the other one's Enforcer, Overkill. I really even wouldn't mess with. I would just have a tri-shot on my locker. And then what I personally want is my primary and secondary. Probably a long shot, M-bar, torque bow, claw, something powerful.
I got an itchy trigger finger.
So I'm gonna get into now Sentry Positions. Oh yeah, they moved it over here. So sentries are best used like when cornered. You don't want them in any position where like a Jovi's gonna run up and destroy it or a leech can get to it. They are best behind barriers. So I'll show you like right here a strategy. This barrier was just put up initially down real quick. But we're gonna move this back and we're gonna move it to here. Since nobody's defending the hall anyway. We'll put this like this. Now, make sure the line, as you can see on the right, you kind of want to make that line as close to the wall as possible while the sentry is still able to be placed and not in the red. Now, as you can see, once this elite drone comes up, sentry should shoot it. Now, if your sentries are not firing, then they're not positioned correctly. If enemies are walking up and they're not firing, they're not positioned correctly, would be a better way to say it. If there's no enemies there, it's just not going to shoot. I'm going to get into, I'm not going to actually place this here, but get into the shock and sentry combo. Now, when you do use this combo, usually the shock sentry is placed behind the regular sentry, and you also do not want to put them side by side. The reason you don't want to put two sentries pretty much within this range together is because one boom shot or one drop shot is going to destroy both sentries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it more here. Or not. Actually upgrade this. Do that. And we'll move this up a little bit. Now, when you do get a matriarch, you usually want to put as much as you can in red. I'm just going to go help him kill this.
Looks like you had to split.
To note before, but weapon lockers will regen slower if they're damaged. So you want a level 3 or a level 4 locker over the level 1s, multiple level 1s, and you also do want to keep them fully repaired. No need to really go into a dangerous situation mid-wave. Dell can repair fairly quickly, so repair them at the end of the wave. So decoys can be useful. They're a lot more useful for Baird than Dell. As Dell, you really don't want to put your decoys in a position where they're going to take damage. I mean, many Dell players won't use decoys at all. I generally do not use decoys at all. But you want it, say you got a player that's positioned like over here. Like, this dude actually is not that good, because he bought a level unlocker, but my locker has overclock on it. So he's missing out on the bonus that would be applied if I was the one who bought this locker or I upgraded it to 4. But now back to the decoys. So nobody's really, if I was posted up at the Fabricator over here, I might want the decoy like right here. This way, as enemies walk up or they come to the side, they might shoot the decoy and not me, allowing me to take them out. So the last item you have in your arsenal is the forge. Now, on low-level difficulties, maybe beginner or something, it might be worth it to buy a forge and just keep putting weapons into it. But for the most part, if you don't have a jack, forge is pointless. And it's not something that you're going to bother with. A lot of games right now, Jack doesn't even forge. Like, Jack is more used as a medic right now. They nerfed his numbers a lot significantly, so he's far less effective than he used to be. In order to actually make him effective on a high-level difficulty game, we're looking at like a 3-hour game, and there's a reason people like these speed runs and faster games. 3 hours is just too long. So, unless they up Jack's numbers again, you're not going to really see too many teams wanting to forge. I mean, it was really cool. I mean, despite the 3-hour game, I did like the larger bases. Right now, you are very limited in what you can buy. Between the player's perks and fortifications, generally you're looking at a very small base. It would be nice if they buffed Jack's numbers again and they made that so you could actually do a base if you want. But right now, players want perks at least by like wave 25, the latest, generally by like 20, buying a couple perks even before that. So you're just not going to have the money to build a base. Well, then again, that's playing from a lot of master. That's what power drain on. With power drain off, I mean, you can build like a little bit of a base. Actually, it's been so long since I built with power drain off that really depends on how much players deposit versus how much they put in their perks. For masters though, with the power drain on, that's a whole nother story. You just really don't have the money to build a crazy base. It's, you put Jack in and you forge literally every weapon in the game. So with the barriers, generally you want to stay at level 2 barriers. Level 3 and level 4 barriers take significantly longer to recharge or repair, and they take a lot more damage. Level 2 barriers will slow down enemies, which is generally more than enough for your team to take out the enemies. See, like right here, if I didn't have this stupid auto lock on, I could take him out, throw a shock grenade, take these two out. And they're still on that barrier right there. And I'm Dell using a hammer burst. Granted, it is a beginner. You'd never be able to take him out like this. Like inconceivable or something, but... yeah, generally you want level 2 barriers. The only time you would want level 3 barrier is, say you got a window like this, but it's not at a really significant higher elevation. On some maps, you'll have situations where juvies can jump up walls. Like, actually, I'm not really sure if a juvie can jump this wall, I forget. But, I don't think they actually jump that one. Maybe they do. They can jump pretty much everything, but... if I set up a level 3 barrier right here, then any juvies that jumped would die. And if you put it right up against the wall, then they can't even jump. So, in some situations with windows and situations where juvies are mantling, sometimes you can fix that problem with a level 3 barrier. 99% of the time, you want a level 2 barrier. They're easy to repair, they don't take a lot of damage, and they significantly slow down enemies. So ideally, they're perfect. Better to have 2 level 2 barriers than 1 level 3 or 1 level 4 barrier 9+ times out of 10. Now right here, in this game, since I have everybody just running around, and I still do have this close spawn point, you can usually pretty much shut down one spot with a good sentry or a couple sentry position. Granted, there are going to be some enemies that you are going to need to inflict damage on with weapons, because the sentries just won't do enough damage. Or you'll have scions, and they'll blow them up if you don't take them out fast enough. But now right here, this is not happening. Actually, hold on. What is your gamer tag? Because we're gonna kick you. So as you saw right there, do not... oh, I don't know why they bought this sentry. Don't buy sentries. Definitely don't buy anything that's not weapon related or perk related. Fortifications are the engineer's responsibility. Engineers get discount on fortification, bonuses on fortification. As a player that is not the engineer, you should not buy anything else. Engineers generally do not like that, as I do not like that. And that's why I kicked that person.
Got it. Okay, let's rebuild and get ready for more. More for me.
Now, as Dell, I got a little bit into what weapons you should use. Personally, I like the Tri-Shot custom robotics or not, but Tri-Shot and Cryo Cannon. That is, I walked up and helped kill the matriarch, but the engineer should be the one in charge of freezing Kestros and matriarchs. Right now, I don't have a leech wave, I don't think. I have like, no, it's robots. Shows you how much I'm paying attention to the actual enemy spawn. But, yeah, if I had a leech wave, or I knew there was a potential for the caster right now with these robots, I have a video up showing you what bosses you'll get depending on what enemy spawns that you get. And you can check that out. I'm not going to get into that right now. But, so, I know when I'm going to get a matriarch, and I know when I'm going to get a kestrel. But if you're not sure, even if you check out the video and you forget, rule of thumb would be then just to have a cryo cannon on hand. One cryo cannon saved, or at least have the money on you or in the fabricator where you can buy a cryo if needed, preferably on you, because people can buy weapons and that could halt your ability to buy a cryo if needed. But yeah, the matriarch and the kestrel are two bosses that definitely need to be frozen. You can freeze the flock too. You can freeze guardians and sentinels. And Dell should definitely have a cryo cannon that he knows where it's at, and he can go get it if needed. So it's only 3,500. It's not a lot. I mean, it's not like 6,000. It is a couple thousand, so it is a lot better if you can get it off a ice scion versus actually buying it. But if you need to buy one, then yeah, you're gonna have to buy one if you can't get it from the ice ion. Sometimes you will get wave 10 robots and you'll have the potential for a Castro, and at that point you might just want to buy a cryo can. Oh, here's a perfect example actually. So these things can very easily be frozen. Right now, I would not be trying to press this per se. I would be waiting for it to fly to me. But this is on easy and it's about to die anyway, so I'm just going to freeze it. But what you generally want to do is you want to hide out and try to take a position where you can freeze it before it's going to down all your players. Kestrel try to get under it. It works really good with the Kestrel, the Flyers, and the Matrix. It's highly useful against Flyers.
Now we're talking.
Granted, on the Guardians and Sentinels, they can very easily take you out, especially on harder level difficulties, and that's why I said corner. Just, you gotta be in a position where you can freeze it before you go down. So you gotta use your judgment, try to figure out where that position is, and then wait for your opportunity. I'm trying to see if there's anything else to mention for him. Oh, yeah. So as you can see, that juvie just came straight up. It's like, sometimes, even positions like this, they can mantle over things like this. I really don't like that the sentry didn't shoot it right away. Try cornering this a little bit better. There we go. Shoot him. See, like, right here, if it's doing something like this, it's just in a bad position. So, I have no players over here that can shoot this juvie. Generally, that wouldn't be a problem, because somebody would be playing back. Actually, I am playing back, and I killed the juvie. But, Right here, we're going to adjust this because it didn't shoot the juvie, and if I wasn't paying attention, it would do a lot of damage to the sentry. So now we're going to try this position over here. And sometimes you will need to adjust things. If you notice something is a problem, try a slight adjustment and see if that works better. As I was saying earlier, if your sentries aren't firing, then they're not being useful. So you need it in a position where it's not going to be rushed by low-level imagos and type enemies. And also it is firing at the choke point that you're trying to defend. Occasionally it's taking stray shots. That's just gonna happen. You can't prevent that. To show you once more the shock and sentry combo. Shock sentry is going to go significantly as far back as possible behind the regular sentry. So if one explosion hits one, it's not damaging the other. Right now, they actually are at a point. Boom shot or drop shot hit perfectly dead center. They both would take damage, but the potential for them both to take damage is significantly limited by me spreading them out. Ideally, I would like to push this back even further or that up further, but I really don't have the room in this box to do that. So I'm putting them as far away as possible where they can both still be effective. And I think that's it for the engineer. I can't think of anything else to mention for him. But if you do have any questions at all for any difficulty, just post a comment and I'll let you know. I hope that helps.